Buenos dias, Gunners Collective TV. Back at it? You already know. Like a torta with some bad habits. Bye up, bye up. Let's get to this intro. Welcome back to the channel. And if you haven't already hit that like and subscribe button, make sure you go ahead and do that. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directing the direction of the dope content that I stay kicking. And I appreciate the support, man. I'm very humbled by it. So guess what happens over the weekend? Yep, a California prison catches on fire. And no, the inmates didn't start this one. No, this wasn't a riot, a protest, a sit down, a hunger strike. None of those things. This was just an honest facility. Well, I won't say an honest facility, but an honest fire at a facility, right? That could have injured several of the inmates, guards, and the population. But at the end of the day, a shed, a shack where some lawnmowers were stored and a masonry structure was lit on fire, right? Now, they do not know as of right now, and it's pending investigation, exactly what started this fire. But it's convenient that a prison that is scheduled to be shut down within this year, Norco State Prison, right? A prison that is scheduled to be basically scratched off, another one in California, catches fire conveniently. I guess insurance wasn't involved. No, not at all. Not at all. Nope, they didn't want no insurance for those 3 structures that were lit on fire and burnt down to the ground. The fire happened Saturday morning and was something of an anomaly, I guess. Something that just happens. They're saying as of right now, it was a faulty electricity pole that started the fire, or could have been one of the reasons the fire started. And it's very convenient that the 3 buildings that were destroyed, 3 structures that were destroyed in this fire, were apart from the general population, apart from the facility, apart from the inmates, right? Now, 2 inmates were taken out of the situation. They probably were in close proximity to the fire, and they were given some medical treatment and released back to their cells. Okay, so this is a situation where you got to really reach and see behind what's going on. A lot of prisons in California are scheduled to be shut down or have been shut down. Now, they say it's due to old, deteriorating facilities, not enough taxpayer money to keep these facilities going, or a decrease in population of inmates. We know that's not true. There is no decrease in the state of California in the population of inmates. In fact, it's even worse now. The housing situation is crazy. When I was in prison back in the days, they started opening up gym facilities, meaning that prison gyms that were actually real life gyms, handball courts, basketball courts, all those different things, weightlifting facilities. They started converting these into dormitories. Okay, I know because I did time in 2 of them. And these things were cram-packed full of prison beds. And they would put lower level inmates, or inmates that went all the way up to level 3/level 4 inmates, in these gymnasiums. Now, I remember the beds were stacked 3 high, and I felt bad for you if you wanted that bottom bunk because you had about this much room to sleep, whatever would fit your head. And I remember guys used to make little man caves, jack shacks, and do their thing in those bottom bunks, man. You never wanted the middle bunk because you had to slide up in there. Top bunk was always the Cadillac, was always the plush. You always wanted that top bunk in those gymnasiums, right? But the moral to that story is that they started, because of overpopulation in prison, they started to convert these gymnasiums into, like I said, dorm facilities. Also, they started going as far as to just putting bunks literally in the day room. So where you would have your normal day room activities, your tables, your TVs, where people played pinochle, spades, and were able to interact with the other inmate population, they started to literally throw beds on Front Street out in the middle of these day rooms. There wouldn't be very many beds, maybe about, I think, 18 in total. but there was literally beds, and they'd place them right in front of the TV to make it feel like it was an incentive program. And at first, they would ask people to volunteer to leave a cell to go out. After a while, because of the population, they started to just throw you out there. I know because I did time 2 times out there in the middle of no man's land where everyone could be all up in your business. You're basically in a dorm or on Front Street in front of everybody. And it feels odd to have all these inmates looking out their windows, just seeing you. They're all trying to watch the TV or whatever they're doing, see what's going on. And all they see is you coming back from showers. Oh, yeah, there wasn't a couple motherfuckers trying to get a sneak peek, right? So it boggles my mind to think that all these prisons shutting down in the state of California is due to overpopulation. Now, I wanted to tell you guys a story. Since we're talking about the California prison catches on fire, and everything's going to be fine. They shut off the electricity. They're running off generators. They provided the masks, the COVID masks, to all the inmates to protect them from the smoke inhaling. And, of course, all the main essentials like the kitchen, the program offices, the captain's office, everything was up and running, ran by generators until eventually at 1:30 that afternoon, they got the facility up and running. I'm sure these 3 buildings will not be rebuilt based upon the fact that they're shutting that facility down, but it just is what it is, man. It makes a good story, and it also makes for some good insurance, right? Why not squeeze the taxpayers and squeeze everything for a few drops more while you still can? It's crazy. Anyways, accidents happen, things happen. But in this case, man, they don't know exactly what happened. Just 3 buildings in a secure California prison catch on fire by themselves. Who would have thunk it? Who could have thunked that one up, right? But I wanted to tell you guys a little story. Since they're blaming overpopulation, and that's the reason why they're shutting these facilities down, I wanted to explain to you why even doing what they did, the alternative of having more people piled on top of more people locked up in this warehousing of human beings, right? What happened? Two different incidences. It was crazy. So they end up putting me in a I guess one of those dorm livings, which was located right in the day room, right? And I remember when I got to this facility, I didn't want to be, I wanted to sell. Everybody wants to sell. It's just more private. It's better time doing your time. You only have one person to live around, one shit to smell. It's just, if you're going to be incarcerated, you want to do cell living. Now, there are those that don't mind a dorm. They're lower level facility inmates. That's all they've ever done is time in dorm settings. And they rather enjoy, the freedoms of being able to wander around a dorm, be able to interact consistently with other people. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes that's cool. Sometimes when you're in that cell doing time with one person, especially if you get a fucked up cellie, discúlpame, that you can't stand, it's some pretty rough time. That's probably the worst time you could ever do in prison. Not guerra, not wartime, not gang going at it on the yard, not none of that. But being confined into a very small situation or cell with someone that you can't stand or get along with, that's ugly. That's very fucking ugly. I know I've done it plenty of times, and it gets to the point where you start making life decisions, man. What am I going to do to get out of here? I'm not going to bang on the door, guard, and roll it up. It's going to have to be a tricky situation where either I can convince this man to get the fuck on down the road, or we have to do some physical altercation. There has to be a physical altercation to figure out who's going to stay here. It's bad because you don't never want to find yourself getting into those type of situations in a California prison because, they could escalate quick. Everything could be worked out in your mind, but and worked out on paper, but it might not work out on that yard, right? So anyways, I remember being placed in one of these situations, and I was told from R&R, which is when you first get to a prison facility, you go through R&R. That's where you get your bedroll. That's when you talk to the gang coordinator or the captain or sergeant, whoever's on duty, and they house you. That's the last criteria for the housing situation. They figure out, by points, and basically by looking at you, tattoos, gang affiliation, where they're going to put you. Okay, that's like the last gate that opens before you go out there to that yard. And it's not like you think. It's not like you get to a prison and they're going to walk you to your cell and let's go ahead and take you to your cell and make sure you're comfortable and make sure your pillow's soft. None of that bullshit happens. Once you go through that gate, they say go to fucking, if you say you're on B facility, go to fucking building 1, go to building 2, go to building 3, go to building 4, like whatever building you're housed at, just go. When you walk in, you're going to go through a sally port, and the cops are already waiting on you in there, and they're going to let you know, hey, you're in cell, whoop-de-whoop, you're in cell. And that's it. There's no one to hold your hand, no one to guide you. If you're new to prison, figure it fucking out. Straight up. Them guards are not going to go out of their way. This is not the Comfort Inn. They're not going out of their way to leave the lights on for you. Period. Right? So you have to figure things out. And I learned that at a very young age. In the Youth Authority, they did the same thing. When I got to NRCC in Sacramento, which was the Northern California Reception Center, it's like one big R&R, right? I got there, and they gave me my role. They had a shower. They deloused us with some powder. They had a shower. And this was back in 91, 92, right? And then they were like, okay, go to dorm 1. I was like, where? I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I just kept on walking, right? Till I figured it out. So that's how that goes. Talking about safety and security situations. You know, I remember walking up, dude was working out. I was like, he was immediately, as soon as I walked up, I had a little bag, brown bag. I was coming from juvenile hall, right? Sent to the Youth Authority. And he was like, where are you from? I dropped that bag, and I let him know. And he was from Stockton, and it was all good, but whatever. So here I am going from R&R to what I'm thinking is a building. It is a building, but when I get there, I'm like, where's my cell? The cop says, you don't have a cell, you have a bunk. And it was right there by the library and the fucking telephones where everybody works out and sweats all over the place, right? And yells at their old lady. So I'm not going to lie, it was very respectful. The guys that were out there kept it clean, very respectful. But just being on Front Street can fuck a motherfucker up, especially someone who's only done cell time or someone who's not used to this. And it didn't take but a couple of days, man. I was there and I was getting in the groove of things like, okay, you know, hey, it beats having to go all the way back to say you just walk in through the Sally Port from Chow. You have a locker, your bunk's right there, a couple other cats you could chop it up with. There was a couple of homies at the time, so we were able to converse and stay on our program, right? But I knew it. I could tell two guys were getting aggravated with each other, and it was getting ugly, right? And immediately, what happens? As soon as we got back from Chow one day, right? I was there about 3 days. I seen the whole play go down. You could tell. And that's one thing about the California prison system. You could tell the plays going down. Everyone could tell but the guy who's getting done on, right? And I knew these two guys had some words over someone's flip-flops being stuck out of the bed or whatever the case may be. So what happens is usually you put your chanclas or your flip-flops, those are your shower shoes. You know, you only use them when you take them to the shower with you, but usually you place them under your bunk if you're on the bottom bunk. Being that this guy was on the top bunk, he took the 2 shower shoes and he placed them up under his mattress so they were sticking out, if you understand what I'm saying. And this black dude, when he kept sitting up, he was a big, tall dude. His fucking head grazed the bottom of the shower shoe. So he told the dude, hey, bro, which was another black dude. He told him, hey, cuz, on ballroom, right? Can you not put your chanclas right there, your shower shoes? Can you put them on the bottom? Because you're stepping in the shower and I'm fucking grazing my head on him. Dude was like, bro, I'm going to put them wherever I want to put them. You know, people feel challenged in prison. That's the whole thing. They feel challenged. And it's like, instead of taking it as a respect, he's asking just a respectful question like, hey, bro, you know, he's giving you the whole reason why. Dude wasn't trying to hear that. So I knew that one little verbal confrontation would lead to another. And sure enough, man, when we got back, that black dude choked the shit out of the dude that was on the top bunk, right? Bad. And of course, from that point on, man, it seemed like every week I was there for about 3 months, man. And that's before the homeboy actually got me pulled up into a cell. Fights every single day. It was ugly, right? Every time we'd come back from chow, we'd come back from yard, dude sweating all over from yard. You know, it was a clusterfuck. And I remember thinking to myself, man, they caused this. You know, maybe the overpopulation, if I really get down to the brass tacks, I think maybe the overpopulation in the California system is what caused it. Too many motherfuckers doing crime. But they could have figured out, you know, built more buildings. Instead of using taxpayers' money to go on vacation, they could have built another block to house people. But instead, they rather just convert gymnasiums and day rooms. And this just frustrates people. You know, it frustrates people. And it is what it is. You're doing time. You don't really have no say in it. You're lucky you're fucking alive, right? Whatever. So another situation is a situation that I spoke on. That one time some bad black hit the yard. If you don't know what black is, refer to the prison handbook. It's going to be a dude doing this. Can you get it, Jay? Right? So some bad black had hit the yard and it was going around. There had been a couple of people that had what they would call die in the buildings, brought back to life. Anyone that's involved in the game knows what it is, right? And there was about 8 or 9 white dudes that slept in these bunks with us out in the day room. And they were woods, right? Cool woods though, man. Hey, I would chop it up with them every once in a while. Hey, what's up, Wood? What's up, brother? Right? And they were just cool white dudes, man. And I guess they got a hold of some of that funky stuff. So it was going to be count time. And usually what they do in count time was they wanted to make sure you can move a body part. So you could be sleeping, and most people weren't, but you sit up or you stand up by your bunk. They just want to make sure that you're alive, right? Well, these 9 weren't. All of them. As the cop walked by, he's like, hey, get up. He didn't get up. And I was looking like, damn, because I didn't see none of the shit go down. All I seen was them go down. And then that was it, man. They were gone. All of them, all 9 of them. Now, a few of them bounced back to life. The rest didn't. They had to come body bag them up, and that was it, man. They never made it. They slept through count time, needless to say, right? So that was that. Count was off a little bit after that hour or two, right? They locked us all down, dealt with everything, told everyone, stay away from your windows in the cells because, they don't want people doing what they do. We're right there. Fuck, where can we go? What are they going to do? Lock us in the shower all together? No, we just stood right there and watched them take everyone out and then went to chow. That's just how that was. So, I mean, the overpopulation, what they're doing in California prisons is ugly. Now they're shutting them all down. Now they're shutting, I think 5 are scheduled to be shut down this year. And conveniently, a prison fire happens at Norco. Now it's a trip. My Theo was in Norco. That was the last prison he went to before he passed away. And I think Norco is like a drug treatment facility, as well as people that have like underlying conditions, like people that are very sick. I know my uncle was very sick, but he also had drug treatment facility issues. So maybe that's why he went to Norco. Norco is located, I believe, if I'm correct, very, very deep up in Southern California. Riverside County, I believe so. Corona area, something like that. Anyways, with that being said, the California prison, Norco, does catch fire. No one was injured. And according to news, press, and release, all inmates are secure, safe, and that 3 obsolete buildings are what burned down in a facility that is scheduled to be shut down. So no insurance scam, no none. Don't think that it was none of that, or was it? One never knows, does one? But what it definitely was a prison catching fire. It's not every day a prison just fucking catches fire to this like really on fire, to where they had to shut it down. And they had the in-house, I guess they got an in-house fire department, helped the Corona Fire Department, Riverside Sheriff's Office, all these different, first responders came and shut it down. And like I said, the prison is back up and running. So if you have any loved ones, don't be scared. No one got hurt. But isn't it funny how prisons are fucking burning down around you at 5 a.m, right when they're scheduled to be shut down? Come on, yeah, no, they didn't want no insurance money. Anyways, with that being said, man, that's just one of many. I got videos today. I just wanted to alert you guys of the news. California prison, Norco catches on fire over the weekend. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive, struggle, and strive for what I truly believe in, and that's the betterment of all people. This video is sponsored by Vario Liquors in Turlock, California. If you're ever in Turlock, pull into the Vario and get you something cold to drink. Also by Sticks and Stones Yard Service in Tucson, Arizona. If you're in the Tucson area and you need yard work done, make sure that you Google Sticks and Stones, man, and hit them up for a cool, smooth estimate. It's time to look out for our small local raza businesses. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. This is The Gun. Bang, bang.